Good afternoon, everyone. This is a courtesy announcement that this meeting is now being streamed live on the internet. Hi, Perla. Can we do a mic check, please?
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Hello, L, or is it Ellie? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Can we do a mic check, please?
Yes, it's L. Thank you.
Thank you. Clarification.
And
Hi.
Elle, I
Mic
have
check.
you in. I have you in twice. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm in there twice, huh?
Are you on two devices, or did you maybe share your link with someone?
I don't think I shared this link with anybody.
Okay, we'll keep it.
We'll need that,
Hi
that
there.
other
So
person.
the microphone just turned on for if you're in and your name is Elle Washburn, please.
Or you're using L's other
Right.
seat.
That's
Introduce yourself.
yeah, it's Lieutenant Seymour. Sorry, I copied off of one of her emails, so
Oh, I think you might have. Do you have your own, Roger?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna.
That's okay. If we could I have staff just rename you? Is that possible for us to do?
We
Yeah,
can-
definitely.
Thank you.
What should I put in?
Just Roger Seymour.
SEYMOUR.
Close. SEMORE.
CMORE. And are you a commissioner or an alternate?
I'm the lieutenant of the San Jose Human Trafficking Task Force.
He's neither, but he is the commander of the unit that oversees human trafficking for the San Jose Police Department. I don't know if he should have used a public link, but
No, he's fine. It's fine.
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
thank-
put
Sorry about
Commander San Jose Police.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
We just do that to make sure we don't have unexpected, unnecessary guests.
I'm gonna make sure Roger has good intentions.
Perfect.
That's right. Oh, better way to say that. Yeah. Sharon, do you need to be promoted? I think she's a presenter today.
I can promote her. One moment, please.
Thank you so much, Dave.
She should be joining momentarily as a panelist.
Appreciate it. Ah, there you go. Great. Good, good.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
Happy Friday, everybody.
I also see,
Oh, DA Rosen.
yeah,
Oh, and Sylvia and us.
and I believe Sylvia's a recent appointee. I don't think she's a voting member today, but we'll move her over if that's appropriate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And DA Rosen, can you confirm that's really you? It sure is. Thank you.
Thanks. And Sylvia, could you do the same, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, perfect. We just wanted to make sure it was really you.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's me. Thank you.
Okay. And Chairperson, we are recording, and if you'll just give me a moment to get quorum established.
All right, Jess, you're the boss. Thank you.
Okay, I think I have everyone who's in the room so far.
Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm really excited to open the meeting of our annual Human Trafficking Commission check-in. We're going to ask for, first I'm going to just to ask for a roll call vote. And I wanted to, we have some folks who we just have to formally appoint, which the board will take care of that. And but others of you that we'll just do roll call and then make sure that we have a full list of everybody who participated today.
Okay, Chairperson Chavez,
Here.
Co-Chairperson Rosen,
Here.
Commissioner Harmon, Terry Harmon.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Co-Chairperson Lori Smith.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Binder. I believe absent. Commissioner O'Neill is absent. Commissioner Eunice.
It's Barudi. Thank you here.
Oh, apologies. We will get that updated. Commissioner Hanson. Absent.
here.
Oh, thank you. Present. Commissioner James Williams, I believe is absent. Commissioner Garnett.
Capilet sitting in for Chief Garnett.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Minicucci, I believe is absent. Commissioner Little.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Terrell. Absent. Commissioner Juarez. Absent. Commissioner Ramirez.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Reardon will be absent. Commissioner Gorey, George Gorey. Absent. Commissioner Washburn.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Schreifer, I believe is absent. Commissioner Lucero.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Zahner. I believe is absent. Commissioner Manley. Absent. Commissioner O'Brien.
Perla Flores sitting in for Aaron O'Brien.
Thank you very much, Perla. Commissioner Silvertop.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Denoa. Present. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Marins, Derica Marins.
Here. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Fernandez, Maria Fernandez.
Jay Bailey sitting in from Commissioner Fernandez.
Jay Bailey, I have you as an alternate for Carolyn Gano, but I have marked you present. Thank you. Commissioner Seaver is absent. Commissioner Satcher is absent. Commissioner Esparza.
Commissioner Esparza is no longer the appointment from the city council. I was alerted to that, and that is Councilmember Arenas is the new appointment, and we'll take formal action. The board will take action on that as soon as we can get that agendized. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Collins?
Here.
Thank you, Carla. Commissioner Gilmore?
Kathy Watanabe, alternate in for Commissioner Gilmore.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Gano is absent. Jay Bailey has said she's present. Commissioner Franco Clausen?
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Foltz? Tatiana? Absent, and Commissioner Diekman has confirmed her absence. And you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, well, thanks for that. We're gonna do this one more time. So I'm gonna ask folks to take your mute off and let Jess kind of whip through this. So on item 3, we have, public comment. So this is an opportunity to speak to an item that is not on the agenda, but within the purview of this committee, which is focused on human trafficking. All right, I see one hand up, and if we can do 2 minutes, please, for each speaker under public comment.
Thank you. Our first speaker is Blair Beckerman. I have unmuted you. Once the timer is up, you may begin speaking. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. Go ahead, Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beckerman here. This is my first meeting of this commission. Thanks for it. I learned some interesting, strange statistics yesterday that while more women and more people are reporting violent crime and I guess sexual assault against them in San Jose, the idea of rape is actually going up fairly significantly in San Jose over the past year. So while one part of this process is being worked on well, there's just an initial issue of rape cases going up and some sort of violent crime issue. Good luck on how you can address this issue and what is needed to work on it. Thank you.
And that concludes our requests.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to ask for a motion on the consent calendar. The consent calendar includes to accept findings. This is item 7 for continued remote public meetings, and item 8 is the minutes for our December 4th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Second?
Second, Watanabe.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Kathy. So we have a motion and a second, and I'm going to ask for no comments or questions from my colleagues. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Chairperson Chavez?
Yes.
Co-Chairperson Rosen?
Yes.
Co-Chairperson Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Baruti?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Little?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Yes.
Commissioner Washburn?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucero?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Silvertop?
Yes.
Commissioner Marins?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Watanabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey?
Yes.
Commissioner Franco Clausen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. So we're going to move on to item 4. And item 4 is it's kind of the bulk of our meeting, folks, because we are just doing these annual check-ins. And this is a report relating to the implementation of recommendations brought forward at our meeting last year. So I think our fearless leader kicking this off is going to be Carla Collins, and we have a number of presenters. I'm going to ask if my colleagues don't mind if we can let all the presenters present, and then we'll dive in with questions and comments after that. Is that all right with everyone as a process? Okay, Carla, we're turning it over to you.
Wonderful, thank you. And Julie's going to be helping us in sharing her screen, and it's almost to the presentation. But good afternoon. As Chair Chavez noted, my name is Carla Collins, and I'm with the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention, and grateful to be bringing you all this update today. So if it can go, there we go. If we can go to the next slide. Today, we're going to hear from folks, some of who have spent their careers dedicated to addressing the needs of survivors, and this is really hard work. We know that increased communication and collaboration has always been a goal for us to help to do this work even better. But this past year, it really marks a significant shift in the way that the work is done, mostly thanks to the rich discussion and referral from the 2020 Human Trafficking Commission meeting last December that really directed us all to roll up our sleeves, enlist others, and get this work done working together. So today, the focus of the presentation is about this past year's increased partnerships, some of the successes and challenges working with the survivors who are youth and adults. And then we'll end with a plan for next steps in 2022 and beyond so that we can continue providing the best possible services to survivors. And if we could go to the next slide. So after the December 2020 Human Trafficking Commission meeting, there were no less than 65 recommendations that were highlighted and discussed. And they covered big, important aspirational recommendations, things like don't let survivors fall through the cracks, or to honor the terminology and acknowledge when we are perhaps at best being trauma aware as we really work towards being trauma informed so that community can actually heal and possibly thrive. So administration worked with our partners at the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking and took those 65 recommendations and did our best to vet and organize them. We channeled them into 48 buckets that we categorized into 10 different, we took the 48 recommendations, we categorized them into 10 different buckets, and then we set up the infrastructure to do as much of this work as possible during this pandemic-riddled year. Now, our office also created a human trafficking stakeholder group that continues to meet quarterly. And then to better focus some of the work, we established 3 work groups: training, housing, and economic empowerment. And what we found is that in working together, we can go deeper and do some amazing things. Now, we didn't do all of the recommendations, but our update today is that four of them you'll hear about separately from our Office of the District Attorney during the next item. Then of the remaining items, 25 are complete. Many of those are complete and ongoing as they've been incorporated into the way that we do our work. 8 more are in process and likely headed to completion, and 11 for a variety of different reasons have not yet been addressed. The details of all of this are in attachment A of today's packet. So if we could go to the next slide. What we want to do now is share some details with everyone. And to start on an update from our amazing community partners, the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking, a group that has been doing this work for a very long time, more than a decade. And our office now provides most of the funding for the staff of the coalition, as well as San Jose PD, which provides some staff funding. And we do this because the coalition, in fact, has laid the groundwork to address human trafficking locally that collectively we are all taking to the next level. And we all know that survivors, as well as the forces that support human trafficking, are across the region and not just limited by these boundaries like our county. So the stronger regional response, particularly as we look at Alameda, San Francisco, Contra Costa, Santa Cruz, San Benito counties, the stronger that regional response is, the safer all will be. So it really is my pleasure now to turn this over to our next panelist, Sharon Genoa, who will update us on regional coordination. Sharon, and we can go to the next. Thank you.
Carla, I'm Sharon Genoa with the South Bay Coalition on Human Trafficking. I'm just going to do a really quick overview of what we've done in the past year. And that really is looking at how to improve access. And so we've done that a lot through virtual meetings. We did an entire conference in the month of January that was virtual. We do this with a number of smaller meetings as well with Survivor Advisory Council. In terms of outreach, we are focusing on groups that are disproportionately not reporting trafficking and intersections. So there was a large billboard campaign in 6 languages that was done through the San Jose Police Department. You'll see Detective Shin is one of our models. And we also are looking at improving and building capacity, which I think is a constant challenge. We're creating toolkits that are easily accessible. Again, doing virtual trainings. And then one of our big gaps is housing. So we've been working on a literature review that's looking at best practices for housing for CSEC. We're also doing a survey for survivors to find out challenges, as well as a survey for staff to see what's working. We're doing that at the local level, but also regionally with 5 counties total. And in terms of institutionalizing values, we're looking at how can we increase our partnerships. And some of that is systems and policy advocacy, looking at collective advocacy, bringing together multidisciplinary partners to really understand how we can work together and have shared values. You see this through our application for the OVC grant, which is a multidisciplinary grant, where we also have created a work plan associated with that. Victim rights advocacy project that I mentioned. And I think that's pretty much it for this one. Next slide. Year ahead, you're going to see some of the same themes again. We're again focusing on institutionalizing values. A lot of our agencies use a lot of the same language, but it doesn't always mean that we're implementing them in the same way. Capacity building is going to be a continued challenge. We're working on that. Implementation of protocols and also implementing associated best practices. Regional housing advocacy, economic empowerment. A number of our agencies are really working on economic empowerment, and our upcoming conference is focusing on that issue. Legislative awareness, so that we really know what is going to be impacting survivors and advocates, and how agencies want to respond to that, and expanding partnerships. And that's my 1 to 2 minutes. Back to you, Carla.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. And for those who want to read even more and learn more about the incredible work that they're doing, their annual report was attached to the agenda item so that everyone can have access to that. So the efforts to address our youth and transitional age youth have actually been reimagined over the last few years with the creation of the county's transformation team. And our efforts to address adults have been ongoing since about 2016 and led by the Catherine and George Alexander Law Center. Both efforts for youth and adults demand thoughtful collaboration between a variety of county departments and a variety of community-based organizations. Today, we'll hear from leadership in both. And to begin our discussion, I believe I'm turning it over to Leticia, and we can go to the next slide.
Hi, everyone. It's actually going to start with me, Ronnie. So I'm actually the social worker with the transformation team through DFCS. And I'm going to start with this slide. This slide actually represents the total number of referrals to the transformation team in fiscal year 2021. And as you can see in the graph, we continue to increase in identification. And we attribute this increase to ongoing training, team consultations, as well as staff and partners becoming more confident in their engagement with our youth, as well as their assessment for commercial sexual exploitation, which I'll continue to refer to as CSE. So as you notice, there's 102 youth who were identified as at risk for CSE. And in the all county letterhead 1685, the state identifies at risk of CSE with one of the following: a child youth who exhibits behavior or otherwise indicates that he, she, they are being controlled or groomed by another person. Number 2 is child or youth spends time with people known to be involved in commercial sex. Or number 3, a child or youth use of internet, cell phone, or social media involves social or sexual behavior that is atypical of his, her, or their age. And if they don't have one of these indicators, they need 2 of the following indicators to be at risk. That would be a child or youth who has a history of running away, unstable housing, including multiple foster care placements, periods of homelessness, including couch surfing. And then we also have number 2 with a child or youth who has prior involvement with law enforcement or juvenile justice system. Number 3 is child or youth is frequently truant. And number 4, child-youth relationships are concerning, placing him, her, or them at risk or in danger of exploitation. And then the final one is that a child or youth has a history of substance abuse, specifically narcotics, opiates, crack, cocaine, and amphetamines. So that's kind of where our at-risk youth lie. So For the department, we have had 41 youth who were actually identified as confirmed for CSE in this fiscal year. It's important to note that a child or youth identified as confirmed for CSE does not always mean that he, she, or they were located at a brothel or working on the blade, also known as street exploitation. Our youth in Santa Clara County are using social media to arrange exchanges. Our youth are being manipulated by peers and adults, family, friends, online to self-produce and share nude images through text and online. Our youth are being sextorted by peers. Some of our youth have porn addiction. Several of our youth have substance abuse challenges and they're seeking money or drugs to support those addictions. Our youth are self-producing through social media and dating apps using Venmo, PayPal, and Zelle. Some of our youth are surviving in homeless encampments, exchanging sexual acts for safety and basic needs. And some of our youth are also staying in abandoned homes, apartments, seeking money to maintain their basic needs. So I also wanted to highlight that 6 of the youth in that 41, 3 youth were from out of state and 3 youth were from out of county. Those youth are the youth that were located in hotel ops, on the blade, or another type of law enforcement intervention. So now I will turn it over to our division manager, Leticia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. So we're going to look at some numbers, and the slide that you have in front of you is comparing fiscal year 1920 to fiscal year 2021. If we look at this, we could see how there has been a significant increase in the number of referrals to services, which tells us that in Santa Clara County, the number of referrals to advocacy and to behavioral health services has gone up significantly, which means that in Santa Clara County, we are identifying more youth who need services and more youth are being referred to services. Looking at fiscal year 1920, there were 27 referrals that were made to advocacy services, whereas in fiscal year 2021, there were 85 referrals that were made to advocacy services. So that more than triple. 3 of those numbers were duplicates. If we look at fiscal year 1920, there were 32 referrals made to behavioral health services. And in fiscal year 2021, 40 referrals were made to behavioral health services. So the numbers, as you can see from the information in front of you, have gone up significantly, and we expect the same to continue for the coming year. If we could go to the next slide, and I will turn it to Marie, our social service analyst with the transformation team.
Good afternoon. I created this slide because I wanted to look at like a 3-month period, a quarter, to get an idea of what we were seeing. So as you can see on the left, the ages of the youth, we're seeing younger youth. We used to only see like the 14, 16, 17-year-olds. We're seeing they're coming in younger and younger. And also a lot of it is due to the internet and taking pictures of themselves. And so people are concerned and aware, and they're making those phone calls, and people are going out to work with them. The other thing I wanted to look at is gender identification. One of the reasons is that when I first came on like 3 years ago, we basically were just seeing females with a very few of any other cases. Right now, we're seeing a lot more cases that are male or LGBTQ. That's really a powerful thing. One of the big things is that the LGBTQ make up 40% of the homeless youth population in the country, and they're 3 to 7 times more likely to engage in survival sex. So that's a group that we really wanted to see more and to start working with more. Next slide. So one of the things that we also want to talk about is the challenges and successes. One of the things that we're really needing is parent and caretaker advocates to work with parents to keep kids in their own homes. A lot of times the family feels overwhelmed, they don't know what to do. And then sometimes they say, you take over, or, I don't know what to do with this youth, and they're just getting very upset. So we need advocates also that could be available 24/7. So to talk to the parents, in the middle of the night when they're upset, on the weekends, at different times that, besides the 8 to 5. The other thing is a lack of housing and treatment programs in this county. There's no short-term residential treatment programs currently in our county. By the way, this is an issue for the whole state, and I think for the whole country, that we're really looking for more housing issues. Though we do have some professional parents, but usually those are short-term. So that's a great need. And the lack of coordination in schools, we need to, with COVID, it was very difficult to coordinate with the schools. I think we want to get back and start working with the schools. We've had some working relationships with them in the past, and we need to, but the people have changed and we need to reconnect with them. The last three is all basically COVID related. We had staff shortages due to our staff being disaster workers. We've had the public health nurse open position for 8 months. And that's a real gap in our system. And unfortunately, we're able to do a youth empowerment conference this year due to COVID. And then I will give it back to Ronnie.
And then some of the successes that we've seen in this fiscal year is that more youth are being identified, especially non-binary youth and male youth, that more youth were referred to advocacy and mental health services. We also received county funds to get backpacks to our runaway youth. And this will help supply them with the items to keep them safe, as well as contact numbers for services. We also worked with 2 foster youth to help guide our work. One of the youth was is a chronic runaway, and she is at risk. And one of our other youth is a confirmed CSEC youth, who also did some presentations for the department. We also had initial conversations with court advocates, CASAs, to discuss possible training for our child advocates, who may want to be specialized in working with this population. And then we were short our public health nurse this fiscal year because our public health nurse promoted to manager. And we have recently hired the new public health nurse who will start at the end of November, which is a very critical component with our program. Those are our successes. Thank you. And we will now turn it over to Lynette Parker with Santa Clara University to talk about strategic efforts to address our adult population.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to start with first thanking the county for their support over the many years that we've been providing services to adult survivors of human trafficking. This slide shows the amazing amount of support we have received from the county as we have increased the services to survivors, identifying gaps in services and trying to meet those needs, including workplace crime survivors as well in the services that we provide. And so we're really, really grateful for the county and the support that you have provided for our services over the years. Next slide. This slide is specifically for the survivors who are served under the county adult survivors of trafficking grant, and is the first 3 quarters of this calendar year. The trends in this track very closely the data that the South Bay Coalition report also has provided to this commission. We women still comprise the majority of the survivors we serve. A majority of the survivors have experienced labor trafficking, and most of the survivors we serve fall within the range of 20 to 49. Next slide. Services that we focus on in the first 3 quarters of this year significantly focused on case management, mental health, referral to housing legal services, as well as immigration legal services and housing law services. The increase in mental health services reflects both the increased availability and resources to provide mental health services, and also the need. The increase in housing legal services and referrals to housing legal services is a reflection of the current need in terms of our survivors. Next slide. During this past year, we saw a slight decline in the referrals of new trafficking survivors to our agencies. This allowed us to provide more in-depth support to the existing clients and also some space to identify gaps in services and try to address those gaps in services. We pivoted to serve clients remotely by phone, video, mail, etc., as part of the response to COVID and shelter in place, enabling us to serve survivors with physical disabilities, transportation challenges, geographic remoteness, and long working hours. Many of our clients experienced the need to increase the number of jobs that they held because having a full-time job was difficult, and sometimes they needed several part-time jobs in order to be able to meet the needs of providing for their families or trying to keep their housing. We continue to provide a hybrid model of service delivery for our clients. We're coming out of the COVID period slowly with ancillary services still spotty, the services that we need in order to be able to do the work that we're doing. Also, in timing of adjudication of cases is still very long. So there is some work and some efforts being made in terms of addressing these challenges. There also has been changes in terms of the political arena, and some of the very draconian policies that were in place have been reversed or are slowly reversing. However, trust takes time to build, and we're seeing that some of our survivors are coming forward very gradually. Still somewhat fearful of systems, of reporting, of trying to get documents or files from immigration, and then identifying themselves. So the trust is going to take some time to rebuild after the past sort of draconian policies that we were facing. We're seeing, and we're likely to see, more identification of survivors, especially those who are isolated and exploited during shelter in place. Out of this past difficult period, we hope to carry forward the hybrid model of serving clients and also the ability to provide more comprehensive and in-depth services, as well as meeting the challenges with new survivors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynette, and also to Ronnie, Leticia, and Marie for briefing all of us on the incredible work that is happening for youth and adults. So now we'd like to spend just a few moments focused on our next steps, and if we can go to the next slide. Thanks. I mentioned that at the start that we really have set in place our infrastructure to better address human trafficking, and it starts with that human trafficking stakeholder group. This group is comprised of county and community leadership working collaboratively. Members include community-based organizations and the coalition, county health and hospital systems, probation, Social Services Agency, Behavioral Health Services Department, the Office of the District Attorney, and the Division of Equity and Social Justice with the County Executive's Office. So using an equity framework to guide our efforts, we're trying to lead with data, looking particularly at gender and race to inform decision-making. Now, the group will continue to convene quarterly with our work groups meeting on a more regular basis to vet action items and policy considerations in greater detail. So we'd like to focus in on some of the major efforts we have lined up for 2022, including youth diversion efforts in the criminal justice system, some more general housing work for all survivors of gender-based violence, and our plan to better align healthcare to our current efforts. So next, I'll turn it over to fellow Commissioner Judge Lucero.
Thank you. Many thanks. I am grateful to all the stakeholders that have been meeting to get to a place where we are not doing further harm to the vulnerable population that ends up in both the foster care and in the juvenile justice system. One of our main goals of the Gender Responsive Task Force has been to end the incarceration of low and medium risk girls and gender expansive youth. This slide shows that in 2020, Santa Clara County had 12 days with 0 girls in juvenile hall and 48 days with 0 girls at the ranch. And this year, we have consistently had stretches of either 0 or 2 girls at the most in juvenile hall. And we've had over 5 months of no girls at the ranch. Next slide. There's more work to do. This slide shows that the racial disparities persist. We know nationally, the data shows a similar trend that the smaller the population gets in the justice system, the more egregious the Latinx and Black youth population is represented in carceral systems. And so that is true here in our county, and that slide, this slide shows that. Next slide. So what we want to do, we've had Vera with us, the Vera Institute for Justice, helping us end the incarceration of low to medium risk girls who are very much an overlapping of the girls that are vulnerable to the CSEC population. What we need to do for the long-lasting impact is we have to put some of these practices into our infrastructure. Formalize, for example, our shift away from safety confinements. A safety confinement is where a girl or trans or gender expansive youth is confined in a carceral state for their own safety, rather than focusing on the fact that we may want to start focusing on the exploiters rather than confining the girls. And what we've done is we have determined that we have to invest in housing and economic supports for these young people and for their families as a form of prevention and diversion. And we want to sustain this progress through institutionalizing the approaches between the collaborative, which has consisted of numerous government and community-based stakeholders and young people. We've also begun to build regional partnerships. Our youth are very mobile, and we often have youth from other counties, and the systems that are in place are not very nimble. And so if a youth is incarcerated in this county and has a warrant in another county, the youth is likely to stay incarcerated until the matter is resolved. So we have recently had some regional strategy meetings and are looking at possible legislative changes so that we can work more nimbly together to make sure that girls don't have to, and gender expansive youth don't have to be incarcerated unnecessarily. I think I'm passing this now to Hillary.
Thank you, Judge Lucero. My name is Hillary Baroga, and I'm with the county's Office of Supportive Housing, and I'm honored to be here with you today. This slide highlights some of our county's efforts to address homelessness through a housing first model. The Office of Supportive Housing has been working with the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention and the City of San Jose's Housing Department, and we've established a housing work group that brings together system managers and gender-based violence advocacy agencies to do the work needed to create a survivor-centered continuum of care for survivors of gender-based violence. The group works to create solutions to system challenges, and these solutions will ensure that survivors' confidentiality is protected, their safety is prioritized, and that the focus is on creating long-term stability. And to do this work, we've established 3 subcommittees which meet regularly and report to the larger housing work group that meets quarterly. These subcommittees focus on emergency housing, stabilization housing, and permanent housing. And the subcommittees have been meeting since the summer and have scheduled dates through 2022 to address systemic issues like cultural responsivity and reducing barriers to housing for survivors, filling service gaps like access to affordable childcare, and addressing policy issues like crime-free housing policy, all while honoring and bringing survivor voice to the table, as well as assessing exactly how much housing is needed to fill which critical gaps. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kim Walker to talk more about healthcare.
I think Kim is here. Is Kim She was here earlier. Is Kim able to?
She has her microphone and video on, but Kim, we are not hearing you right now. Kim, I see you. Can you try talking again? You're muted now. Can you turn your microphone back on? Kim Walker, can you hear us? Can you nod your head? Okay, we're not getting any audio from you. Is there a way you can make an adjustment to your system? Okay, Kim is working on it.
Kim, can you just say hello? Oh, still not working.
Right, I have a really clear video feed, but no audio for you, Kim.
Oh, okay, I'm not sure what else we can do except to say that there is incredible opportunity through healthcare to intervene and interrupt violence. And we're working on that actually in all aspects of human trafficking, sexual assault, and domestic violence. And we're excited because this is an area that isn't fully incorporated into all the other efforts that are happening, but everyone who needs to be is at the table to do this work. So we're missing some of the fabulous detail of Kim and the amazing work that is happening there, but I'm not sure if she can call in to get in there, but oh, did we hear her?
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you. Apologies for that. My name is Kim Walker. I am the nurse manager for the Sexual Assault Forensic Exam Program. Thank you for having me today. Just quickly, I wanted to talk about healthcare's role in identifying and screening for human trafficking and how we can be involved in this. It's important to remember that trafficked individuals are often subject to physical, sexual, and psychological abuse during their exploitation, and that 85% of trafficked individuals have contact with healthcare providers in any given year. Frontline healthcare providers, particularly those in the emergency department, are one of the few areas and providers likely to encounter trafficked individuals. We may be the first to interact with survivors. We are well positioned to promote their physical, mental, and cognitive health and kind of be a catalyst to get them into services. We can often act as a bridge between survivors and those other resources that you've all been talking about today. So one of the things, well, two of the things that we're doing now is as we expand for our sexual assault program and we're staffing for 24/7 coverage, we're looking at providing a two-tiered screening system in the ED so that we can better identify in real time survivors and individuals who are being exploited and then responding to them, because we often see crossover between sexual assault, intimate partner violence, and those that are trafficked. So what we would ask is that we, when considering building response protocols, that the long and short-term health of the individual is being considered, and that those are being built into any policies and protocols. The other thing that we're doing is with the development of what will be used for the sexual assault documentation. We're building software and a database that a lot of the information will be flowing to the Office of Gender-Based Violence to aggregate and put out as dashboard information for everybody, is to include human trafficking in that as well. That is what I wanted to talk to you about today. I'm going to send it back to Carla.
Thank you so much. So in closing, I want to thank all of our partners, particularly all the panelists, for highlighting for us some of the great work that's happening to address human trafficking. Now, our office was only established in September of 2019, and we've been grateful to truly be embraced by stakeholders to really work together and move this body of work forward. The work we've just reported on is a directive of last year's Human Trafficking Commission, but there's so much overlap with domestic violence and sexual assault that we have expanded where we could to address all survivors of gender-based violence, not just human trafficking. So I want to highlight particularly for this year, we've just entered into contract, as Kim was alluding to create an online database for reporting medical forensic exams that will truly transform the way that medical, law enforcement, and our advocacy agencies are able to safely and securely share information, all improving service for survivors, and then allowing our office to have that non-identifiable identifiable data that we can share with the public. We will be bringing a contract to the board on December 14th to begin one of the recommendations to pilot a 12-month program that will match 40 youth and young adults with a life coach with lived experience. And so for that, we expect to have so much to share with you on that effort for next year. And we are continuing the important work of convening all of the stakeholders and setting intentional space to consider emerging trends, best practices, and current efforts to prioritize truly trauma-informed, culturally responsive service delivery with the goals of ending harm and to support the healing of our community. So if we can go to the next slide. With that, we are all available for questions for all of you, and we thank you for this time.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank all of you for your hard work and for the presentation. But I'd like to ask my colleagues to think just a little bit about, if you have comments or questions, is that I'm very interested in any emerging trends that my colleagues are saying, or any new recommendations that you'd like us to be thinking about. So with that, I'm going to first go to the public. I'm going to give my colleagues on the panel an opportunity to digest that, and then we'll come back to the board, and each speaker will get 1 minute.
Thank you. We will set a 1-minute timer. Our first speaker will be Blair Beckerman. I have unmuted you. You'll have 1 minute to speak. Timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, Blair Beckerman here. Thanks a lot for this item. I'm interested in that too. San Jose had their public safety and strategic support meeting yesterday. They offered the rape statistics. They seem a bit, they're not quite sure what to do at this time. What age group is these rape issues most affecting? Maybe that's a question to consider. I also know that a board of supervisors have talked often about recently about the importance of community mental health. Their roving mobile program that can go place to place. Maybe that can be an option to consider. And a polite mention that I hope the police peer review program is starting to be better considered and vetted, and could be put into service sometime soon as well. Thank you.
That concludes our speakers.
Thank you. And I'm going to come back to my colleagues. Any thoughts, comments, or questions? Carla?
Thank you, Supervisor Chavez. Thank you, Carla, for this great presentation. I think what comes up for me is really an opportunity, and it feels like we're in alignment in terms of addressing human trafficking in an intersectional and collaborative manner that really addresses survivors' needs from crisis to long-term stability and sustainability, which traditionally, and particularly with human trafficking cases, takes an average of 5 years. So there are some great recommendations that came out of the CDAW task force in the housing report and in the gender-based violence report, or how we can do that, how we can ensure that survivors have support in every area during crisis, when they're stabilizing, and then long-term so they can maintain that stability, and what's needed in terms of housing, in terms of comprehensive and robust case management that's really individualized for the survivor, coupled with whatever legal support that may need, mental health, et cetera. And then also during that stabilization period, really robust self-sufficiency programming. And the coalition is currently working with Futures Without Violence to develop a curriculum for self-sufficiency that really supports survivors to first identify barriers that prevent them from becoming self-sufficient or going into a particular job, and all the way through to gaining experience through internships or volunteer opportunities, apprenticeships, and then once they have a job, maintaining that job and knowing what their rights are. So I really want to push this intersectional, collaborative, long-term approach. I think it's really important, and looking forward to working with the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention and all the key stakeholders to develop a plan to implement those recommendations and implementation strategies that surface through the Victim Rights Advocacy Project process and the CDAW task force. Thank you for allowing me to share that.
Thank you, Carla. Ruth?
Yes, I did want to talk a little bit about trends, particularly because of the dramatic increases in unemployment, underemployment, and juggling multiple jobs and reduction in wages. People are more vulnerable to trafficking. Also, we're seeing more clients who are seeking criminal record remedies, in part because it serves as a barrier to employment opportunities. And I think this dovetails into some of the presentation we heard, but even if they are, out, it's very difficult, out of custody, difficult to get jobs. Workers in industries such as food service and domestic work, which we see a lot, face exploitation because of the need to cut costs and less oversight by government. Loan sharks are promising low interest rates, and that increases the possibility of debt bondage. And also the courts and the Labor Commission have limited service, and there's delays during the pandemic. I also wanted to point out, and this is in the update report with recommendations, I wanted to highlight the work of the OLSC and the Law Center in doing trainings and screening for trafficking as well. And we have available on the advice line English, Spanish, Tagalog, Visayan, Punjabi, Hindi, and Mandarin and Vietnamese. So that is also supplementing those efforts. But even with all of that, there's limited family law immigration. People are at capacity. And so that's something to look at for the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Elle?
Yes, thank you. I'll be brief. I just wanted to give a shout out to the need and support for funding for our advocates, and just that ongoing funding, whether it's coming from a city or a county budget, or certainly at our department. I know we're prioritizing grants. We really believe that our services to survivors are enhanced with the collaboration and the partnership with our advocates, and just being able to provide those wraparound services in a timely manner and connecting them right away. Whether it's advocates that we work with through gender-based violence, human trafficking, or sexual assaults. I know we've reported out on just the last fiscal year, I think there was a 200% increase in referrals to the YWCA. So whether it's supporting community solutions, the Y, Aki, or Nextdoor, just to name a few, for us, it really does help us to enhance the services that we can offer as a law enforcement entity when we partner with our advocates. So thank you.
Thank you. Carla?
Sorry, I forgot to mention, in terms of trends, what we're definitely seeing an increase in the number of referrals. And thank you, Elle, for mentioning that. I really appreciate that. And we've also seen an increase in the intensity of cases. And so it's really important that not only is there a strain in terms of the case management and advocacy services, but the majority of survivors are also needing more financial support just to meet their basic needs. So the access to unrestricted funding and funding that allows flexibility so that we can support survivors is really important. The partnership piece is really important as well. And also thinking creatively of how can we ensure that there's carve outs in different spaces where there's housing options for survivors. So for example, right now we're trying to figure out how we can increase access for emergency housing vouchers to survivors of gender-based violence. That those pieces are going to be really critical as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Marie? And then Ruth.
Yeah, I would like to add with Perla. I totally agree with her. A lot of our youth have a lot more issues when they're coming in, a lot more mental health issues and addiction issues than we've seen in the past. So we need to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth?
Just quickly, I also forgot to state that we're seeing an uptick in retaliation, including immigration-related retaliation. And I know the NLRB and the EOC and some of the other agencies have a campaign now against retaliation because it's so rampant. And there's also a statewide coalition, California Coalition for Worker Power, that is trying to address retaliation through legislation. So I think it would be good to work with some of them because people are afraid to speak up as well.
Thank you. Sharon?
Thank you. I did want to add a few more trends that we have in the annual report as well. Of note for service providers, there's a lot of fatigue. Staffing is spread very thin. Some of that's due to some of the funding changes, but also with COVID, whenever there's an exposure, then staffing levels change. And so there's a lot of stress in that way. We also are seeing pipeline issues. So many agencies can't do the 70-hour training in the way that they were doing before. And we're also have a very high standard for advocacy in our county, but the salaries are not necessarily competitive. So we're finding some positions have been open for months, and it's really difficult to fill positions. So we're really trying to get the pipeline issue there. But we're still seeing staffing sticking around. So I just wanted to add that trend in there as well.
Good, thank you. Anyone else on this item? You know, I just, I want to first say again, a very sincere thank you to all the service providers. The work you're doing is really incredible. And, you know, and it's hard for me to imagine day in and day out doing that work and then, you know, having to advocate for more resources. So I just want to say thank you, and also that we hear you. You know, one of the, I'll say this just as from a policymaker perspective, just something I want, and I'm talking to everybody when I say this, because I think this is really important as we move forward and seek out future investments. We do actually need a tool to prioritize the investments and the requests that we're going to be making. And one thing that I would just ask is that as many hard numbers as we can get into our reports, like I saw them today, which was really helpful. It helps us understand how we're looking at you know, cost per service, and that's important when we want to make the case that we want to invest more. The second thing I just want to reinforce is that I think it's really critical that we figure out a way to have a discussion about the continuum of care necessary. And Perla, this is something I'm sort of thinking about the point that you raised around flexible funding. I personally think that we're getting to a point where the service provision strategies we're using can't be en masse anymore. They have to be much more customized. But in order to do that, we need to have a much deeper dive into understanding the tools to be able to customize those services. And so my request to all of you is for us to actually, and I'll do this too. I'll go back through the reports, and I apologize. Some of it we got a little late, and some of it I probably read late, so it could have been here, and I read it late, so I apologize for that. But you know, really taking a deeper dive into the numbers, a deeper dive into the financing, a deeper dive into the emerging trends, and then to be able to look at how we build in more flexible funding. So that's just one thing I want to just put on the table. The other issue that we are trying to address, but I'm going to recommend that we think a little bit differently about how we're addressing it. And that is the issue that so many of you raised around services connected to housing. And, you know, as you know, the county, in partnership with the city of San Jose, and frankly, all of our cities, is working overtime to get more available housing and to be able to embed services in and housing together. I think that one opportunity we have is to pull all of our competing strategies into one place around housing. They're all over the county. I know they're all over the cities. Every meeting I'm in, we're talking about housing, but we're pulling on the same small resource, and we're pulling it in a bunch of different directions. And so one of the recommendations I'm going to be making to the county is that that we look at reestablishing the housing as healthcare discussion, and take a deeper dive into that resource and how we're dividing that resource up. You may all know that Susan and I have launched a campaign to focus on homeless families. So this is really to take a look at anybody who's got a child. We're starting with, up to, I think 6 or 7, actually it's probably higher than that. But my goal is to make sure that anybody who's got a child under the age of 17, 18, that we're working on housing for them. And that there's a lot of overlap with this community. And my point only is that the diagram of all the overlaps is so significant that we're going to have to figure out how to better understand and digest that, because otherwise I think we're going to keep pulling on a small group of funds to cover everybody. Or a small group of resources. And then the last thing, and I'm really glad Elle raised this point about advocates. I will say that the county's increased funding in all of these resources dramatically over, from where we started, right? We were funding it like, I don't want to say it was so low, it was less than $1 million. Now we're in the $13-14 million a year category. And one thing that I do think that it's worth us taking a look at is how we engage all of our partners in those shared investments so that in fact they are strategic. And we, and one thing, Carla, I think it's worth thinking about is whether or not, for the way we handle NOFAs for housing right now is we determine that we're going to do a NOFA, a notice of funds, notice of available funding. And cities can buy into that so that we have one application that people are doing. And one thing we may want to think about with expanded resources is whether or not we want to invite cities to participate in that so that the county can fund, but the cities can invest too, so that, and Elle, one of the reasons I'm thinking about that is that I think we need much more buy-in from all of our municipalities, not just the city of San Jose, but all of them to address human trafficking specifically, because the labor trafficking isn't just in one community, it is all over. And human trafficking isn't either. And frankly, the vulnerability of young people isn't in just one city. So Carla, I will bring a referral formally forward on that, just to, as we think about increased resources so that we're better able to partner with other agencies on that. So I think from Casey, did you want to weigh in on this topic?
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Supervisor Chavez. Yes, I did. I just wanted to, my name is Casey Halkin. I'm the Director of Victim Services, and I just wanted to reiterate Perla's comments and the comments of some of the members of the commission. We're seeing a similar increase across very vulnerable victims, child sexual abuse victims, sexual assault, and human trafficking. The comments that Sharon made about how staff are feeling as caseloads are going up. And unfortunately, with resources being what they are in COVID, it's been a challenge to meet some of those needs. And I think that that is another component, is the complex needs that victims have, which has a lot to do with cost of living in the county, but also the impacts of COVID and the supply and demand of behavioral health resources, which I haven't heard raised quite yet, but I do think that's a very important point of looking at how we can bring in trauma-informed and evidence-based trauma practices to address the needs of human trafficking survivors, because across all crime types, really, we're struggling with being able to meet that need. So I just wanted to raise that point and really share my gratitude to Sharon and to Carla, Julie, and Perla for their excellent work, and our nonprofit partners, and then just reiterate those concerns.
Thanks, Casey. Shay, you will have the last word on this issue today.
And I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Supervisor Chavez. I really always appreciate everyone that is here today, especially the collaboration of the nonprofits, especially as a survivor of trafficking as a youth. I can tell you it's the mental health that Greta just mentioned, but additionally, what are the things that we use to sustain? Like, we can provide housing, we can provide the mental health, but the educational opportunities and the safety within that. In order, most of these people come from poverty, so they don't have generational wealth or families to rely on to be that sort of support system. So when we think about progressing them forward, we have to, I think someone said it's multi-faced. Yes, it's like it's an onion. It's got so many layers of how you support young people through this process, and even older women. I know there's a lot of programs, and when Supervisor Chavez says that we should be partnering with other municipalities, the city of San Jose, other police departments, and we should also look at the colleges and the community colleges resources too, because some people are going to need that educational support, some sort of job training in order to keep themselves out of poverty. Most of our systems are set to keep them right above poverty. And the minute they go $10 over, they're kicked out of a program that keeps them just on the edge of poverty, that keeps them in the same communities of where they were assaulted. So I just want to have that consideration when we talk about it, because we have amazing colleges here and college districts that we can really partner with, and labor partners, you know, to give them opportunities. So in order for them to sustain some sort of housing, they're going to have to sustain some sort of wealth and some sort of financial advance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna sum up the discussion with a deeper dive into you know, our shared housing strategy, our behavioral health resources, the jobs, education, and self-sufficiency overall rubric, and then joint funding. And then the last thing I'm going to challenge us is on what we're learning, you know, and how many people are we talking about? What kind of funding are we talking about, so that we're able to advance this each year as we move forward. Okay, with that, I want to thank everybody. There's no action on this item. I think what I'd like to do is just see if that is clear to staff: housing, behavioral health, jobs, education, self-sufficiency, joint funding, and effectiveness. And then I'm just going to say this to Maya, that we'll work on, when we bring the notes forward to the board, on pulling out those elements that require referrals. Okay, we're going to move on then to our next item. And I do again want to thank Carla, Sharon, Lynette, Leticia, Marie, Ronnie, Judge Lucetto, always a pleasure, Hillary and Kim for that, and Carla, thanks. And Julie, good job on the slides. All right. We're now going to go on to item 5. This is to receive an annual report from the Office of the District Attorney and the Office of the Sheriff relating to the activities of law enforcement to investigate human trafficking and the task force. And I think, I'm not sure who I'm turning this over to. I apologize for that. Patrick?
Yeah,
or
Patrick,
Jeff? I'm sorry.
Patrick Veneer is here.
Yeah, thanks, Stu.
I just want to make sure the PowerPoint is queued up. There it is. Is it shared?
No.
It's not.
Make sure you select the application that you're using to share it, and then you'll have to click share again. Coming up now.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. Can you see it? Awesome.
You're in presenter mode, so at the top under display settings, if you'll drag that down.
Go to duplicate slideshow or swap?
Correct. Duplicate.
All right, there we go. Thank you.
No problem.
So good afternoon. It's a privilege to have the opportunity to present again on the productivity of our law enforcement community over the past year to fight the scourge of human trafficking in Santa Clara County. The most notable update that's discussed in my memorandum that I filed with the commission and this presentation is the evolution and the rebranding of our law enforcement to investigate human trafficking, or the Light 2.0 task force. In terms of updates, which I believe also will correspond with the 4, I guess, recommendations from last year, I will address updates first, and then I will address sort of how these updates kind of essentially respond to the recommendations from the previous year. So my first slide is our prosecution stats, and I presented similar stats last year. We had 81 defendants prosecuted by the Human Exploitation Unit in the last 12 months. There's actually updates to this information from when I filed this last week. We have 28 defendants that have been convicted of human trafficking or human trafficking related crimes. When we're talking about human trafficking related crimes, we're not just talking about violations of Penal Code Section 236.1, the California's human trafficking statute that covers both labor and sex trafficking. It also covers pimping and pandering crimes, as well as economic crimes associated with the laundering of proceeds of human trafficking or illegal sex brothels. And so our unit covers that category of crimes, the scope of those crimes. And we currently now have 47 defendants that are still being prosecuted. We have a 100% conviction rate over the last year, and we're really proud of that. And what that essentially means is that we've had no cases fall apart on us during the prosecution of the case. As has been discussed, there are challenges with the prosecution of these cases because our victims are extremely vulnerable. They suffer from a variety of trauma, and we oftentimes have victims who are uncooperative. We cannot locate after they've been contacted by law enforcement to bring them to court, and a whole host of other reasons that can interfere with our ability to prosecute the case. I really want to applaud our victim service providers and our victim services unit in the district attorney's office for their outstanding work over the last year for keeping these cases moving through the criminal justice system and providing the necessary services and scaffolding our victims so that we can have successful prosecutions. In addition, in the statistics, I cover some of the litigation that we've done over the last year. We've had 7 preliminary hearings. We did 1 lengthy 2-week grand jury presentation where we indicted a trio of sex traffickers. And we had 28 sentencing hearings. And sentencing hearings are important. And certainly they're very emotional for investigators and for prosecutors, as well as for our victim service providers, because it is that moment in time when the victims and our survivors have the opportunity to really get closure in the case. As they confront their trafficker, their exploiter one last time, they have the opportunity to see closure in the case and consequences associated with their victimization. And we did 28 of these hearings, and we've seen some very emotional victim impact statements, one of which I shared in our memorandum. 2 of the noteworthy sentencings that we had in the last 12 months is the sentencing of serial sex trafficker Andre William Furtado. He was convicted at trial last year. His sentencing was within the last 12 months, and he received 104 years to life in prison. And closure was not just to the one victim that he trafficked that was the subject of the trial, but also 5 other victims that he had horrifically trafficked and abused over the last 16 years. They too were able to come to court and provide victim impact statements and receive closure as a result of this sentence. Another noteworthy case is the case of Christopher Johnson and Antoine Williams, who were also convicted at trial and were sentenced in the last 12 months, and each received 15 years to life for trafficking a CSEC victim. This slide represents our accomplishments through our victim assistance, both through our victim service providers, but also our grant-funded victim services advocate within the district attorney's office, Marcela Soto, who's done some extraordinary work over the last couple of years, but also within the last year. We had 68 survivors who were offered support services in the last 12 months, 43 accepted direct and ongoing support, not just from the district attorney's office, but also from Community Solutions, our point agency, as well as from the YWCA and our other victim service providers within Santa Clara County. In terms of some success stories that I noted in the memorandum, that there probably just isn't time to go into the facts of the case, we had our reluctant labor trafficking victim in a labor trafficking case where the victim was basically he was confined in the storeroom of a liquor store in Gilroy. We discussed this case last year and presented it, but that victim was reluctant to come forward and reluctant to avail himself of services. And through work with Marcella Soto, our victim advocate, as well as Community Solutions, we were able to successfully find housing placement for this victim in a Salvation Army human trafficking home in Southern California. And currently, this survivor has now, he's in the process of transitioning out of this housing placement into his own living situation. He's receiving Cal VCP housing assistance, immigration relief services, as well as other services. He is doing very well. Another case that we discussed in the memorandum is CSEC victim M. Doe. After months of being homeless and struggling with her addiction, nearly overdosing on various opioids multiple times in the last year after her recovery, she also took advantage of programs, and specifically a program in Southern California. And she has been embracing those services. She has been clean and sober since being relocated this past summer. And she's working to complete her high school diploma. And we're really happy with the success in this case, because we had real concerns that that M. Doe, that she would be a fentanyl overdose. And so we're real happy that she is availing herself of these services. This year also marks the opening of the Child Advocacy Center, where future CSEC survivors like M. Doe will receive state-of-the-art trauma-informed care as our law enforcement agencies conduct their multidisciplinary interviews for child abuse and sexual assault investigations. The CAC will expect to help and provide services to over 300 child victims in the first year alone. So we're real proud of that. In terms of updates with the Light Task Force, last year, the Law Enforcement to Investigate Human Trafficking Task Force was cut by 4 law enforcement members. In 2020, we only had 2 DA investigators that were initiating human trafficking investigations on behalf of the county. This is why the DA's office assumed a leadership role over the Human Trafficking Initiative and began the process of rebuilding the Light Task Force, branding it Light 2.0, by adding an additional DA investigator who now supervises the task force, and formalizing partnerships with the San Jose Police Department, Homeland Security Investigation, and the FBI through signed MOUs agreeing to participate in this task force long term. The District Attorney's Office has also resumed or continued partnerships with the Sheriff's Office, with the State Department Diplomatic Security Service, the National, the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center, the Western States Information Network, Milpitas Police Department, the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, and other local, state, and federal partners. Leveraging these formal and informal partnerships and moving into a new offsite location in the city of Campbell, where the Light Task Force is now working with 2 other specialized task force, has helped not only bring more personnel to the fight against human trafficking, but also new resources. With stretched county budgets as they are, this is a single solution that we came up with by adding new partners to our human trafficking efforts. Also this year, to acquire additional resources, the District Attorney's Office, partnering with Community Solutions, the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking, and the San Jose Police Department, partnered and prepared a working group to apply for a $1.5 million Office of Victims' Crimes through the Department of Justice Task Force Collaborative Model Grant. And while we're still waiting to hear if we will be awarded that grant, it was successful in that it provided much needed sort of focus on the effort of human trafficking. We did quite a bit of data analysis in making our case for the problem of human trafficking in the county, and it provided a platform and it provided a template for how we will write for future grants. And the intention is to use this $1.5 million, if awarded, to again provide additional staffing, data analysis on trends by hiring an intel analyst, as well as economic crimes forensic accountant, and also adding victim service provider resources to our existing efforts. Now, in terms of investigations, the Light 2.0 task force has initiated many investigations over the last 12 months. They've continued on with an investigation, Operation Risky Business, that was discussed last year, but continued on into this year, where, again, we leveraged the resources described above: District Attorney's Office, Milpitas Police Department, State Department, FBI, NCRIC, and Community Solutions. That resulted in the arrest of the leadership of this brothel cell that had been basically functioning since 2015, running a network of brothels and exploiting over 100 sex workers in the last 6 years. To date, Operation Risky Business has resulted in the arrest of 24, as well as charging of 24 individuals. 17 brothels have been identified, and evidence was collected from those brothels. And again, more than 100 victims in 6 years of this operation. Also, there's more than $6 million in assets seized and are pending asset forfeiture and restitution proceedings. In addition, Operation Turnover, a series of cartel brothels that were identified. Initially, this case was started by the Department of Homeland Security, and in bringing this case to the District Attorney's Office, we partnered with San Jose Police Department, FBI, DEA, and Community Solutions to shut down the most active of these brothels, the recovery of several victims, including 2 arrests, as well as cash and various forms of intelligence that will assist us in conducting further investigations into this brothel cell. We've also highlighted a couple of investigations that I think are noteworthy: People versus Nolasco and People versus Andrew Ruiz, that were conducted over the course of the last year. And really, as it's explained in the memorandum file, again, the facts of the case are provided there, and probably more detail than necessary for this presentation. But what's important about these cases is they provide the blueprint for how these investigations should be conducted, and how the Light Task Force has been implementing this blueprint by searching for corroborating evidence for the timeline of the survivors' trafficking, and finding this corroboration by data mining online commercial sex ads, by pulling cell phone records and mapping cell tower to show that the victims were trafficked in the locations they described in their interview with law enforcement, as well as a host of other investigative avenues that we have found very persuasive to juries that corroborate the victim's story. Another project we've been working on is a demand reduction project called Johnny Be Better. And this was a spinoff investigation from Operation Risky Business. During the investigation of Operation Risky Business, by the seizing of Google platform data, by seizing information from Venmo and PayPal and other platforms, over 6,000 names, email addresses, phone numbers, and financial information of sex buyers were recovered. Instead of just using this for the prosecution of Operation Risky Business, we saw it as an opportunity to do some demand reduction work. We've assembled a database of this information. And what we intend to do with this information is send scripted text messages and emails to the individuals identified in this data, letting them know that they have been identified during a brothel investigation as someone who is suspected of purchasing sex from a brothel, and letting them know that this database will be kept and they will be watched. This, we hope, will be a deterrent for future purchasing of sex from these brothels. Now, as I indicated, we've been working with the Sheriff's Department. They've been a collaborative partner with Light 2.0. The detective sergeant, who's currently working human trafficking investigations, has been regularly discussing cases with Light 2.0 investigators. The detective sergeant has reported also that he's been participating in multiple county trainings and meetings, that the that the focus within the Sheriff's Department has been self-initiated cases through the Bureau of Investigations, where they've investigated approximately 10 brothels that they've identified. They've also investigated one human trafficking case where a victim was recovered who was trafficked from Atlanta, Georgia, out to Santa Clara County. And while that victim was recovered and offered services, the trafficker is still outstanding. They've also conducted multiple inspections on illicit massage establishments. And from that, they've cited 2 masseuses for operating without a license. In terms of statewide leadership over the past year, there are successful prosecutions out of Santa Clara County, investigations, and efforts like the 2020 Santa Clara County Law Enforcement Protocol for Human Trafficking Investigations has brought statewide recognition to the work that we're doing in this county. A couple of examples of this has been recent presentations at the 2021 Western States Information Network Human Trafficking Summit. This was a summit of more than 300 investigators and prosecutors and victim service providers from 11 states. At that summit, Santa Clara County was asked to present Operation Risky Business and provide a roadmap for how to conduct residential brothel investigations. Also, Light 2.0 investigators and prosecutors conducted a training on electronic surveillance and other investigative techniques for conducting human trafficking investigations. This class in particular focused on the blueprint for conducting these investigations that we've been working on, we've been honing and refining, that is outlined in our human trafficking protocol. There was also a panel discussion on minimizing trauma and the criminalization of survivors that was facilitated by Sharon Denoa, the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking, that I sat on, as well as Officer Sohal from the San Jose Police Department. We also hosted within the District Attorney's Office a regional working group for the FBI's Innocence Lost Project. It was the first regional meeting that since the COVID pandemic, and that it brought approximately 60 prosecutors and investigators to the county to start to once again start sharing trends and cases involving human trafficking within Northern California. And lastly, the California District Attorneys Association, one of the leading trainers for prosecutors and investigators, has asked the District Attorney's Office to be a technical coordinator for their human trafficking symposium set for the spring of 2022, which again, we will help facilitate and bring speakers and trainers from various disciplines to help train investigators and prosecutors throughout the state of California on how to conduct human trafficking training and provide a victim-centered approach and trauma-informed approach on how to do these investigations. Now, goals and recommendations. So I have additional information to provide on the goals and recommendations from 2020. And the first one was develop consistent trauma-aware and informed approaches to assist survivors. I can say that the recommendation in item 27 is currently being implemented with county law enforcement agencies. Through the adoption of the human trafficking protocol signed by the county chiefs earlier this year, all county agencies have adopted a consistent trauma-aware and trauma-informed approach for survivors. Discussed last year, we convened a working group in 2020 to help put this protocol together, to revise it from county agencies and our victim service provider community, as well as law enforcement agencies had input in this process. The protocol provides all first responders and specifically human trafficking investigators a step-by-step process for how to conduct these investigations, how to contact our point agency community solutions, and how to provide the necessary services that we know our victims need. The protocol even provides a methodical process for working with CSEC victims and providing investigators with the necessary tools to get services in the short term as well as in the long term for these vulnerable victims. Also, my office has been conducting extensive training on law enforcement partners on the protocol that has strengthened our working relationship with county service providers as well as our law enforcement partners. In terms of item 28, dedicating specialized detectives to the identification and investigation of sex and labor trafficking. As mentioned in my presentation, as well as in my memorandum, last year, the Light Unit was cut by 4 investigators. In 2020, our human trafficking efforts on the county level were thinly staffed. This is why the DA's office assumed a leadership role and began the process of building these formalized partnerships with the agencies that I've discussed. The DA's office has also assigned another DA investigator to help lead this new task force. And our partnerships with our federal, state, and our local law enforcement agencies has brought additional resources, surveillance equipment, funding for investigations, funding for victim services that we just didn't have in previous years, and has brought tangible results to the investigations that we've been conducting. The DA's office has also sought, as I mentioned, to increase capacity by applying for grants along with our partners, Community Solutions, the San Jose Police Department, and the South Bay Coalition. So in response to item 28, if the county could add more coded positions through the district attorney's office to be assigned to the Light Task Force and staff the task force with the same number of positions that it had pre-pandemic in 2019, adding 3 to 4 more investigative positions, I believe that the end result would be a force multiplier. It would increase the number of human trafficking investigations and the recovery of more survivors in this county. I'll be discussing this need even more when I get to some emerging trends. Item 29, ensuring adequate prosecution capacity for human trafficking cases. Currently, the Human Exploitation Unit has 2 prosecutors assigned, 1 full-time and 1 assigned half-time, to prosecute all human trafficking cases in Santa Clara County. Since 2018, the county has seen a dramatic rise in the number of human trafficking prosecutions, specifically an increase in the number of cases in trial and the number of human trafficking crimes under investigation. This is largely due, again, to our refined approaches to investigate these cases, building the blueprint for successful human trafficking investigations with our law enforcement partners. And as a result, we've seen more cases rising. To meet the current and the future demands with, again, building robust partnerships through these formalized MOUs, I believe that adding additional prosecutors through county funded coded positions specifically for human trafficking can help meet the future demands. Item 30, developing law enforcement investigative strategies. The DA's office is currently leading this work to develop labor trafficking investigation strategies through the Light 2.0 task force, as well as the labor exploitation working group through the district attorney's office insurance fraud unit. The Light 2.0 task force is currently building relationships with the U.S. Department of Labor, Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, OLSC, and others to help develop a referral process for labor trafficking tips. Similar to what we're doing with sex trafficking investigations, we're working on a blueprint or a formula for how to conduct these investigations that will serve as a model for future investigations. The insurance fraud unit within the district attorney's office has created a working group to bring partners from the Department of Labor, EDD, the Department of Industrial Relations, Franchise Tax Board, Office of Labor Standard Enforcement, and others for quarterly meetings to discuss new and emerging trends in labor exploitation and work collaboratively regionally on these investigations. Lastly, in terms of emerging trends that we're seeing in the county, and I'll talk about 2. The first is the extent to which law enforcement agencies are now gaining a better understanding on the prevalence of online commercial sex ads and the intersection to these ads to human trafficking in Santa Clara County. As mentioned in the memorandum, about 4,500 online sex ads marketing victims for sex exploitation occur each week in this county. This is from an analysis of open source data that law enforcement has access to, where they are tracking these trends. And we use this data for purposes of our OVC grant application. An estimated 750 ads are believed to involve CSEC victims. When we compare the online sex ads with arrest and prosecution data, law enforcement agencies are only identifying a very small percentage of human trafficking victims in this county. A significant number, the second trend that I'll talk about is a significant number of human trafficking victims that are also identified as opioid substance abusers. The prevalence of commercial sex workers and victims overdosing on fentanyl has not been studied by anyone in this county, but anecdotally, we know that this is occurring. And we've identified one known death, which was just recently reported within the last few weeks. And we know of other survivors like M. Doe, who suffered from opioid addiction, who nearly overdosed. They've been identified as well. And so we see this as an important trend. And we know that our opioid epidemic in Santa Clara County has spiked, largely surpassing anything we've seen in previous years. And so we know we need to get a handle on this, and we know that we need to connect our victims who are identified as opioid substance abusers into programs as early as possible. So that concludes my presentation on the work that's been done over the last year and emerging trends and how we've been addressing the recommendations provided.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna first go to the public and see if there are any comments from the public. Pardon me, I see none. So I'm gonna come back to the committee and see if there are any comments or questions from my colleagues. I don't see any. I think I'm just gonna give people a minute. Just an overall comment I want to make is that Patrick, I really have appreciated the leadership that you've played in really changing dramatically the dynamic as to how we were handling these cases, how many of them were being handled, and really the collaboration that your team brought. And I do also just want to acknowledge the partnership with the Sheriff's Department as well. And I appreciate Sheriff Smith being with us today as well. And you've given me actually quite a lot to think about. And one thing that, like I said to the full board, we'll be making recommendations from what we've learned today. And a number of areas, one that I'm particularly interested in is how we continue to expand our work in an online, on the online body of work. And you all may recall that we did make an investment early on as part of this task force in looking at expanding our online presence in the crime lab. But I think we have to take another look at that. And I also just really appreciate the point you raised about the overlapping of the increases we're seeing in fentanyl and other kinds of drugs here, and how that all overlaps. I think we need to just learn a lot more about that. So we'll bring forward some recommendations based on what you brought forward to us. Thank you. Carla, you will get the last word on this.
Well, thank you, Supervisor Chavez. I also want to thank you, Patrick, and Casey, for all the partnership. It's been amazing. I just wanted to share that over the last couple of weeks, we have been working with the San Jose Police Department, and this is part of a recommendation that Council Member Arenas and also you, Supervisor Chavez, really pushed in terms of ensuring that survivors are connected to advocates really closely immediately upon identification. So we're moving into an online system so that officers from San Jose PD, when they're out in the field, can enter into a platform information about survivors, and that gets automatically routed to community solutions so that we can ensure follow-up to that survivor if there's not a need for an in-person response. So really excited about all the work that's happening to make sure survivors are connected. And the other piece that I will share, there's also a lot of work around ensuring that survivors are contributing, and people with lived experience, that we're bringing them into the space. And I want to say that we do, as service providers, the coalition, there's really like several ways that we bring in survivors and people with lived experience into the work, and bring their input to the forefront. And one is through hiring survivors. I'd say that roughly 30% of community solutions staff are survivors of gender-based violence in general. And I would say that the same is true for most of the service providers. Another way is by having independent contractors such as promotoras that are all survivors. And also we have the Survivor Advisory Council that provides workshops and trainings from their perspective as survivors to law enforcement, to other partners. And lastly, through focus groups for survivors that are not quite ready to really to share their experience. I really want to advocate that we continue to create a space where survivors can participate into this work in the way that they feel comfortable, and be mindful of how we message involvement from survivors, so that we don't put survivors in a situation where they feel that they have to out or share their experience. So I want to put that out there, because that has been a little bit of an area of concern. Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you very much. All right, Patrick and team and the Sheriff's Office and the DA, thank you both very much for all of that work. So we're going to move on to item 6. This is our federal and state updates. And I wanted to just acknowledge that we got a report from Congresswoman Anna Eshoo that's in your packet. And I don't know if Carrie Duncan is still with us. Oh, there you are, Carrie. Did you want to give an update from Congresswoman Loughran's office? Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your time and allowing me to present a brief federal update on behalf of Congresswoman Loughran. I will be specifically highlighting 3 bills that have made it past through the House of Representatives. The first is the Violence Against Women's Reauthorization Act, which has passed the House. The bill modifies and reauthorizes programs and activities that prevent and respond to domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking through fiscal year 2026. It would also authorize new programs, make changes to federal firearm laws, and establishes new protections to promote housing stability and economic security for victims. It is currently with the Senate for next steps. The second is the Enhanced Background Checks Act of 2021. It has passed the House. It revises background check requirements applicable to proposed firearm transfers from a federal firearms licensee to an unlicensed person. It increases the amount of time that one must wait for a federal firearms license and background check from 3 business days to 10. In the bill, the Department of Justice also must report on further amendments to the background check process that would likely reduce the risk of death or great bodily harm to victims of domestic violence, domestic abuse, dating partner violence, sexual assault, and stalking. They will be working on that with the National Resource Center on Domestic Violence and Firearms. It is also currently with the Senate for next steps. Since our last update in December of last year, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 did become law in March. It provided for additional relief to address the continued impact of COVID-19 and provided additional fiscal year 2021 funding for programs supporting adult and youth victims of family violence, domestic violence, or dating violence, including grants for community-based services. Specifically, it provided for grants under the Family Violence Prevention and Services Program to provide for emergent needs resulting from the COVID-19 public health emergency, as well as providing assistance to rape crisis centers in transition to virtual services. While the appropriations process is ongoing, I did want to briefly touch on it. On the House side, the appropriation bill for fiscal year 2022 provides for more than $100 million to the State Department's efforts to combat trafficking and $95 million to the Justice Department for services for victims of trafficking. That concludes my update. Thank you all for your time and service on this important topic.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank Congresswoman Loughran for us. Lakeisha, and then I'll get to you, Stacy. I see you. Great. And Lakeisha is representing, I'm sorry, Congressmember Ro Khanna.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I just have a brief update on a bill that our office is currently working on. So at the end of 2019, our office introduced a bill called the Sesta-Fosta Examination of Secondary Effects for Sex Workers Study Act, or also known as the Safe Sex Worker Study Act, HR 5448. And this bill directs the Secretary of Health and Human Services to conduct a study to assess the impacts on the health and safety of people engaged in transactional sex in connection with the enactment of the Allow States and Victims to Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act of 2017, or FOSTA-SESTA, and the loss of interactive computer services that host information related to sexual exchange and for other purposes. So in June of this year, the GAO released a report that since the enactment of FOSTA-SESTA, it hasn't made it easier to prosecute incidents of sex trafficking. There hasn't been a distinction between facilitating prostitution and consensual sex work, and potentially has made this line of work more dangerous for sex workers. So specifically, this bill that our office is going to reintroduce this year will require the Department of Health and Human Services to study the impacts of the reduction in access to client screening, information sharing, and harm reduction websites resulting from FOSTA on individuals engaged in adult and consensual sex work. So this study must utilize community-based nonprofits to conduct surveys and interviews of sex workers to collect information on experiences of violence from clients, interactions with law enforcement, experiences with exploitation, and the impact on housing and stability and mental health, among other effects. So at the end of this year, we'll be reintroducing this bill with Senator Warren with minor changes. If anyone has any questions specifically on this bill, you can feel free to contact our office. And if you have any input or suggestions, I can connect you with our DC legislative team. So that's all that I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lakeisha, for being with us. Stacy? Representing our Assembly Member Ash Clara. I almost made him a Congress member.
Not yet. No, I'm just kidding. Stacy Sham, District Director for Assembly Member Clara. Thank you for having me here today to do a state update. I know this year we've seen a common thing that many people have been focusing on legislation that had to do with pandemic recovery. So I'm proud that the legislature understood the importance of passing much needed legislation to protect, support, and lift our human trafficking survivors. And so I'm going to talk about, and I'll be quick, 4 bills that were signed into law, although I do want to mention there was SB 357 by Senator Weiner that Assemblymember Clara was the co-author of. This would have decriminalized sex work. Unfortunately, although it passed both Senate and Assembly houses, it did not make it to the governor's desk. So did want to do a quick brief on that one. We do have 4 great bills that were signed into law that really, strengthen the common thing we've been hearing about: long-term support, reintegration, and this wouldn't be possible without, just some criminal justice reform and sentencing reform. One bill is AB 103 by Assemblymember Villa Padua, who really showed leadership for state agencies by really having inclusive employment opportunities. So AB 1031 says that it'll require state agencies to give preference to qualified applicants who are victims of human trafficking when hiring for internships and student assistant positions. And this is really important because one of the issues we see is that survivors of human trafficking have issues seeking and maintaining employment. And we know that poverty really makes them more vulnerable to go back in the industry. I know Ruth mentioned that earlier as well, that it is important to have employment opportunities to really help them have long-term support and reintegration. We have another bill that was signed into law, which was AB 262. This is by Assemblymember Patterson and has to do with vacator release for victims of human trafficking. So, this really addresses the barriers that survivors face when they're looking for, whether applying for employment, housing, or other resources. Oftentimes their nonviolent criminal records hold them back. And so AB 262 would provide additional legal rights when a victim of human trafficking petitions the court to vacate a conviction for a nonviolent crime that was committed when they were a victim of human trafficking. In regards to sentencing reform, we have a couple great bills. We have AB 124 by Assemblymember Comlager that touches on criminal procedure so that it would require the courts to consider whether a specified trauma to a defendant and other factors contributed to their offense when making sentencing or resentencing determinations. And that includes human trafficking victims, because according to the ACLU, nearly 60% of female state prisoners nationwide have a history of physical or sexual abuse before being incarcerated. So it's really important for us to look at the trauma that played a huge role in terms of their offense that was committed. Lastly, we have SB 81 by Senator Skinner that also has to do with sentencing reform. It provides guidance to courts by specifying circumstances for a court to consider when determining whether to apply enhancements. And one of this includes prior victimization, which refers to those who were a victim of sexual or partner violence, but as well as human trafficking. And I'll just touch really briefly on our state budget. One of the items that enrolled, I think, is such a plus. Earlier, Elle, as well as Perla, touched about the importance of funding for advocates, as well as human trafficking survivors. So we were able to pass in our state budget for fiscal year 21-22, 30 million from the general fund for 3 years, so 10 million each years, to expand human trafficking survivor support programs. And so this program includes, but won't be limited to, obviously victim assistance to help human trafficking victims recover from the trauma, but also to advocates and reintegration and improving outcomes for human trafficking survivors. And so this is definitely a plus. I look forward to seeing the positive outcome, because again, without sentencing reform, criminal justice reform, as well as services to help them reintegrate, they won't be able to have the long-term support needed to be able to get steady housing, steady employment, and really get back on their feet. So let me know if anyone has any questions. I will be here.
Stacy, thank you. It sounds like you all were busy too. A lot happening. Thank you very much. Any questions for any of our presenters on their bills? No, I will just say thank you on behalf of the entire, our entire commission. This is our last meeting of the year. Well, we only do it once a year, but what I wanted to let you know is that we will absolutely do a check-in with the Children's Family Seniors Committee mid-year in anticipation of next year's meeting. And we will let you know about what we bring forward to the board on behalf of the committee, you know, based on feedback and all that we get from you. It was the first meeting today for some. I know specifically Councilmember Arenas. It is the last meeting today for Shay Franco-Clausen, who was one of our original members of this task force. And so I wanted to say a very special congratulations and thank you for all of your service and being so helpful and open to all of us about how we could provide resources in a more thoughtful, more meaningful way. And so Shay, I just wanted to give you a minute if you wanted to say anything.
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Chavez. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. I'll still be working at Elmwood in another capacity, supporting survivors, but this work never ends, and I love to see all the dedication as a survivor here in our county, that you continue to fight forward to make sure that survivors are served, they get justice, and we see them as part of, vibrant piece of our community. So I just want to continue to say thank you. And I'm glad that I was here and to be a part of this.
Thank you for all your help. So everyone, you gave us great feedback. I want to thank all of our presenters. Have a great holiday, Thanksgiving. I hope people get a chance to, to be with family, although safely. So everybody be safe, be well. I look forward to seeing you soon. And Carla, we'll work with your office on our strategy moving forward. Thanks all. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Recording stopped.